lot of blame goes to the doctors and very little on the government, very little on the system. And I think that should be addressed. And the earlier it's addressed, the better. Some people want you to go to their houses, come with medications, and treat them for free. And it's just ridiculous to me. And I feel like having worked so hard, you should be able to afford a good life, if that isn't too much to ask. Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are doing very well. It's Dr. Tolu Ajibade, obviously, here again with another video. Today we'll be talking about the major challenges of a Nigerian doctor. So without further ado, let's get into it. Well, this topic I'll say is rather concerning because from my experience, most of the doctors I've met personally tend to have these same worries and these same concerns, okay? And I feel it's not spoken about as often as it should be. And it's quite concerning. So I just felt, okay, let's make a video about it and just outline these things. So if you're a doctor in Nigeria, I believe you can relate totally to this. The number one thing I would like to mention here is that the Nigerian healthcare sector is grossly understaffed. Doctors are overworked and underpaid. Okay, so those are three major words: understaffed, underpaid, overworked. Now, as simple as this sounds, I feel this is like if this is taken out of it, it will be taking more than 50% of our challenges away. Now, it feels as though there is very little concern about the scarcity of doctors or the scarcity of hands we have in Nigeria, in Nigerian hospitals, Nigerian health sector. You see a doctor seeing over 100 patients in a single clinic. How is that even logical, and how is that acceptable morally? It's wrong, the doctor gets overworked, you see yourself doing more shifts than you should be doing, working ridiculous hours, unthinkable hours actually sometimes. I've had to work up to 500 hours in a month while I was doing my housemanship, which is just ridiculous. How do I make the hospital my home? It shouldn't be. As doctors, we shouldn't necessarily have our lives revolve around the hospital. Yes, that is our jobs, that's our calling. It should take a significant portion of our lives, yes, but it shouldn't be the whole of your life, that you even don't have the time to live and really have a life outside of your work. So that is really telling on a lot of doctors, the burnout is much. You see some doctors not in the best state of health, yet they are forced or they have no choice but to be at work and still attend to patients. Seems like no one is really concerned about the welfare of doctors. And it's beginning to tell on the sector. You see a lot of doctors leaving the country on a daily basis. Nigerian doctors are everywhere in the world. And it's quite disheartening to know that to have a life, to have a really balanced career, you have to live. That's one major challenge that constantly besets the Nigerian healthcare sector. And it could be solved really easily by putting more attention into the healthcare sector, pumping funds into it, or employing more staff. There should be a limit on acceptable work hours, for doctors. Another issue is that point, the third point, which is being underpaid. You get to do all of this work, miss out on important moments of your life, birthdays, wedding ceremonies of friends, vacations, a lot of things, even your weekends most times. And all for nothing. You at the end of the month, you realize that there is nothing to really hold on to financially. Salaries today are salaries that doctors have been receiving for the last 30 years, even before I was born. The salaries haven't changed. So that is a big challenge. And prices keep changing on a daily basis, inflation on a daily basis, and it's just getting very difficult to meet up for a lot of doctors. I've seen doctors go days without eating. I've seen doctors' children being sent out of school because they weren't able to pay school fees. I feel like having worked so hard, you should be able to afford a good life, if that isn't too much to ask. The second thing I would like to mention here is the challenge of culture, the cultural challenges we face as Nigerian doctors. Nigeria is quite a cultural place. We have diverse cultures and languages. And sometimes these cultures kind of contradict medical practice. You see yourself having to deal with people taking herbal concoctions to cure diseases, people being superlatively reliant on religion and not going by medical advice because maybe their religion says otherwise. And then you find yourself trying to navigate religion, spirituality, and then medicine. Okay, if medicine says use these drugs every single day, and then the religion says you will be healed even without using the drugs. Now, the patient comes to you confused or non compliant with medications, and then you have to find a way to balance all of these out in the most diplomatic kind of way without provocations and all of that. I've seen patients come with hypertensive emergencies, diabetic emergencies, just because they were non-compliant. And why were they non-compliant? They were fasting so as to heal themselves of the disease, or they went to for prayers somewhere, and a preacher or something, a religious leader told them they will be fine even without the drugs. And them using the drugs means they don't have the faith. And without the faith, it can't work. So, it's a complex of ideas and complex of, it's really complicated navigating this. So, this is one major thing that affects a lot of Nigerian doctors and really tells on you emotionally. Another thing that could be a challenge is the idea of a mini God. I don't know if it's the same everywhere in the world, but where I studied, it's quite different. Doctors are regarded as, okay, doctors. It's a job. Yeah, it has to do with human life, but it's still a job. And that doesn't make you a god, okay? But in Nigeria, I don't know if it's from the previous generation or something, there's this idea, even up till now, that a doctor is more like a god. Like you have so much power over the life of people. Okay, and that kind of puts you on a pedestal and could be challenging emotionally, especially if you're new in practice and you have to meet up to these high expectations that people have put on you. And now this idea of mini god goes beyond just your clinical practice now. It goes even outside. They believe you're just an epitome of perfection and God can't be imperfect. So why do you have this imperfection in you? So you have to navigate all of that on a daily basis, which could be stressful, I tell you, very, very stressful. There's also this thing that this same mini God status puts around doctors, which is feigned respect. You see a lot of people affording you respect, but deep down, the way I look at it is, if I wasn't a doctor, would you have treated me the same? So it creates this level of distrust, I would say, or is it mistrust in people, uh, and the real intentions towards you, because a lot of people see you as this in this high, extremely high status, and they begin to respect you, do things, and then I'm like, this isn't real life. And as doctors, I think we're also entitled to experience real life. Okay, some people also hear the title doctor and they want to cheat you and things like that. So those are things we face on a daily basis. Okay. Another thing is financial expectations still goes with the same mini god status. You're expected. People just kind of believe. I don't know. I don't know where it came from. People believe that doctors make so much money. I've heard someone tell me once on the day of my induction, I had just, okay, a few days after my induction, and then a family member was telling me, oh, you are worth so, 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 so. And I'm like, I didn't even have a penny, a kobo, okay, in my account. And then this person is telling me I'm worth this amount. And then I'm made already. I was just looking at him like, what is this? Is this what I'm going to have to deal with on a daily basis? So it's crazy the way people think of doctors. You go to the market to buy things just like every other person. And then, because they know you're a doctor, the price is double. It's crazy. You can't even express your financial woes to people. Like this idea of being underpaid. When you try expressing it to people, they're like, "No, you aren't underpaid. You're paid a very good and very decent wage." And people outside of the medical career don't actually understand this. Even as little as doctors earn in Nigeria, we still have to pay for things. We still have to pay for courses. We still have to keep learning on a daily basis. And knowledge isn't cheap. Knowledge is never cheap. In fact, nothing is free. Okay. And in medicine, our exams are expensive, our professional courses are expensive. A lot of money actually goes into these things. Another thing is the free consultations. This one is quite funny to me sometimes because you have a lawyer friend, for example. I'm just painting a scenario here. You have a lawyer friend, you call the lawyer up to seek legal advice. It just automatically you have to pay for legal advice, right? It's just common sense. You go to the mechanic, something is wrong with your car. You have to pay for that. But then it comes to your health. And then the people around you, your friends, your family, your neighbors, your community, just expect you to treat them for free. It's funny that it even goes beyond medical advice. Some people want you to go to their houses, come with medications, and treat them for free. And it's just ridiculous to me. And if you don't do that, they feel like you're just a terrible person and you don't care about life and you don't care about your Hippocratic oath and you don't care about any of that. By the way, I made a video on the Hippocratic oath. You should check that out. It should be coming up either after this or before this video, okay? So do well to check that out and know what is really inside of that because it's used against doctors a lot. So there's so much expectation on doctors, and it is burdensome, I'll tell you. So one other thing that happens to doctors outside of the workplace, still under the same putting doctors on a pedestal idea, uh, is online critique. It's more like trolling, will I say? But a person posts something on maybe Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then if it has to do with health, and then there is the slightest possibility that something went wrong, either in the treatment of the patient, the hospital care of the person, all of the blame goes to doctors. You know, everyone just blames you for everything, forgetting that number one, it's very common with Nigerians to present late to the hospital, and it's painful that uh, outcomes that could have been avoided just by early presentations. You see it, happening in a lot of people. A lot of people die from late presentation. You just keep nursing it at home, doing self prescription and all of that until it becomes very complicated, and only a miracle or something would save this person. And then you bring it to the hospital and blame the doctor for it. I've seen it a lot that patients come to the hospital, patient relatives bring patients to the hospital just to take it off their necks because it's already clear that this patient is going to pass, and then they bring the person to the hospital just to have someone to blame it on. Okay, so I am not saying that malpractice isn't a thing. Okay, but I feel we should at least get to the root of some things before you just automatically put the blame on doctors and nurses and all of that. Because sometimes it's not even the doctors. I've experienced it a lot where you're just handicapped. There is very little you can do because the resources are not available. The healthcare system isn't just favorable to anybody. Doctors keep saying these things on a daily basis, but it seems like the doctors are doing too much. But at the end of the day, we're fighting for the citizens because you're the receiver of this service at the end of the day. And whatever we're fighting for is going to reflect in how we treat you. So a lot of blame goes to the doctors and very little on the government, very little on the system, you know. And I think that should be addressed. And the earlier it's addressed, the better. Okay. So I know this video seemed like a long rant video, but I try my best not to bring too much emotions into these things because it could be very distressing. So that's my take on this. I believe a lot of people, a lot of medical practitioners can relate to this. And I hope for those that aren't in the medical practice, I've been able to shed some light on the behind the scenes of doctors. Okay. So thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Hope you've liked this video. Hope you subscribed already. You don't want to miss any videos like this. Okay. So leave a comment in the comment section. Let's know what topics you want us to touch on in the nearest future. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.